Good evening and welcome to tonight's Beyond Access series session for special education services for students parentally placed in private schools. My name is Andre Mitchell. I'm the Director of Family Empowerment and Communications for the Division of Specialized Instruction and Student Support. And you are joining us for our weekly Beyond Access series session, which is designed to inform our parents of things around special education. Tonight's webinar session is specifically designed to inform you about special education services that you are eligible for if your child is placed in a parochial, charter, or independent school within the 5 boroughs of New York City. Without any further ado, let me introduce you to my colleague, which will be facilitating tonight's webinar. The floor is yours.
Good evening. Thank you, Andre. My name is Temi Fisoye, and I'm the CSE 10 Special Education Program and Placement Officer. And I support families at Region 10 with IESP services. I am happy to review with you special education services for students parentally placed in private schools. This evening's agenda is for us to review the reminder for the June 1st deadline, New York City Public School supports for parentally placed students with disabilities in private schools, the Committee on Special Education, CSE, the initial referral process, the Individualized Education Services Program, IESP, requesting special education services, and annual review and reevaluation process. Reminder, for the June 1st deadline to notify New York City Public Schools of requests for services. This is also known as the parental notice of intent. Parents whose children have an IESP should have received a letter and/or email from New York City Public Schools asking parents to notify your CSE that your child will continue to be enrolled in a private or religious non-public school at your own cost next school year, and you are requesting special education services for your child in accordance with their IESP. Please make sure that your CSE receives your letter by June 1st. New York City Public Schools supports for parentally placed students with disabilities in private schools. Parentally placed students are students whose parents have chosen to place their child in a private, religious, non-public school at their own expense. New York City Public Schools is the local education agency, LEA, for New York City. New York City Public Schools works with private schools located in New York City to identify, evaluate, and provide services for eligible students who are parentally placed in private school. This process is called Child Find. Equitable Special Education Services. In-state resident students. If your family lives in New York State and you send your child to a private school in New York City Public Schools is responsible for providing your child with equitable services pursuant to an individualized education services program, IESP, to meet your child's special education needs. Out-of-state resident. If you live outside of New York State, but have sent your child to a private school in New York City Public Schools is responsible for providing your child with equitable services pursuant to a services plan, SP, but is not required to provide the full range of services that would be available on an IESP. Getting to know your Committee on Special Education, CSE. The CSE is your point for learning about the special education services that New York City Public Schools provides to parentally placed students in private schools. Your CSE is based on the geographic school district that your child's private school is located in. New York City Public Schools has 10 committees on special education, CSE, responsible for specific geographic school districts 1 through 32, representing the 5 boroughs. To find the school district of your private school, go to the New York City Geographic Online Address Translator, also known as GOAT. The information is here on the screen. You type in your home address or the school address in this case, and scroll down to city service information. Finding your CSE, Committee on Special Education. You can go to the New York City Public Schools website, schools.nyc.gov/CSE. And as you can see on the screen, all the different CSEs, all 10, are listed with their location and their email address. What do I do if my child might require special education services? If you believe that your child may be eligible for special education services, you may discuss this with your child's private school teacher and/or contact your local CSE to inquire about an initial referral for special education evaluation. IEP, IESP process. It starts with an initial referral, and then there's an evaluation, and then there's a CSE meeting, eligibility determination, and IESP development. Then arranging special education services and an annual review reevaluation. Initial referral. The initial referral process. Referrals may be made in writing by a student's parent, a designee of the school district, i.e. CSE chairperson, the commissioner or designee of a public agency with responsibility for the education of the child. A request for referral may be submitted by a professional staff member of the school the student attends, a licensed physician, a judicial officer, a professional staff member of a public agency with responsibility for the welfare, health, or education of children. A student who is 18 years of age or older, or an emancipated minor who is eligible to attend public schools. Referrals or requests for referral may be submitted by email, mail, or in person at the CSE. The initial referral process. If you suspect your child of having a disability, you must submit a written referral for an evaluation to the chairperson of the CSE where your child's private school is located. If your child's private school teacher suspects your child of having a disability, that teacher or your private school may submit a request for referral to the chairperson of the CSE where your child's private school is located. The initial referral process. When a parent makes a referral, the CSE notifies the parent that it was received. When a request for referral is received by the CSE, the chairperson either accepts the referral and notifies the parent that a referral was received, or notifies the parent that a request for a referral was received and offers an opportunity to discuss the request. The Turning 5 T5 process. The kindergarten IESP development mirrors the school age reevaluation process. If the child already has a preschool IEP, or starts with the referral if the child does not have a preschool IEP. If your child previously had a preschool IEP and you are looking to parentally place your child in private school for kindergarten, it is important that you inform your Turning 5 team that you tend to place your child in private school and would like an IESP. If your child is turning 5 and did not previously have a preschool IEP, but you believe your child needs special education services, then you would follow the initial referral process. Evaluation. The initial evaluation, social history, meeting, and consent. Written parental consent is required prior to conducting an evaluation. The CSC social worker will schedule a social history meeting with you and send notice of social history meeting to your attention. At the social history meeting, the social worker will explain the purpose of the evaluation, request medical, vision, and hearing screenings, advise on subsequent steps in the process, inform the parents of their due process rights, and request their written consent for the evaluation. If you give written consent, the evaluation is conducted. If not, if consent is not given, the case will be closed. Initial evaluation process. Once consent is received, an evaluation is conducted. The initial evaluation includes a social history, individual psychological, psychoeducational assessment, and observation of the student in their current private school educational setting. The initial evaluation process continued. Other appropriate assessments, as in the speech and language, functional behavior assessment, teacher progress reports, etc., as necessary to ascertain the physical, mental, behavioral, and emotional factors which contribute to the suspected disabilities. It is important that your child's private school provide the CSE with teacher progress reports to help the CSE understand your child's academic functioning. CSE meeting, eligibility determination, and IESP development. At the CSE meeting, each team member, including CSE staff, parents, and representatives from your child's private school, brings important information to share. They work together to determine whether your child has a disability and discuss which special education services are appropriate. Parent role. You are a vital member at the meeting, and your input is extremely important. Gather information that may be helpful in explaining your child's needs. This information may come from people who know your child, such as teachers, providers, or doctors. Offer insight on how your child learns and what their interests are. Listen to what other team members think your child's needs to work on in school and share suggestions. Share on whether the skills your child is learning at school are being used at home. Ask questions of all team members and participants at the meeting. Review the evaluation results. Take notes on results that you think are important and results that you have questions about. Provide the IEP team with any independent assessments you want them to consider, preferably at least 24 hours before the meeting. Private school role. Your child's private school teachers and/or providers are vital members at the meeting, and their input is extremely important too. They must submit information that may be helpful in explaining your child's needs, including academic progress reports and other assessments. They offer insight on how your child learns and what their interests are. They share what skills your child is learning at school, including providing your child's schedule and curriculum. They will share what other team members think your child needs to work on in school and share suggestions. They will ask questions of all team members and participants at the meeting. Determining eligibility. A student is considered eligible for special education services if they meet the criteria for one of the 13 categories of disability as outlined in Part 200 of the Commissioner of Education regulations and require special education to benefit from instruction. The student shall not be determined to be eligible for special education if the determinant factor is lack of appropriate reading instruction, including explicit and systematic instruction in phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary development, reading fluency, including oral reading skills, and reading comprehension strategies, lack of instruction in math, or limited English proficiency. IEP, IESP development. IEP. If you want your child to attend public school, including charter schools, then the CSE team will develop an individualized education program, IEP. Recommended services will be arranged in a public school. The student is eligible for free appropriate public education, FAPE. IESP. If you choose to place your child in a non-public school private, the CSE team will develop an individualized education services program, IESP. Your child would receive recommended equitable services based on the IESP. What is an IESP? The IESP is a written statement of the plan to provide your child with special education services. The IESP will contain information similar to what is contained in an IEP for students in public schools. An IESP may recommend services such as related services, special education teacher services, paraprofessionals, and specialized transportation that your child may receive while enrolled in private school. Arranging special education services. Special education services and related services. Services that can be recommended on an IESP include special education services and related services such as speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy, counseling, among others. Related services are provided to advance the achievement of a student with a disability in connection with their educational program. The objective of related services is to help maximize each student's ability to achieve their educational goals. Provision of services. Consent. Parents must sign consent for the initial provision of services. Please be reminded this is different from the consent for evaluation. Services. Once consent is received, the CSE will arrange the recommended services. Annual requests. Each year, parents must request in writing that services continue for the next school year by June 1st. Again, the notice of intent. Requesting special education services for the first time. If your child is first identified between April 1st and June 1st, you've submitted your request for services within 30 days after your child is first identified. Services will be for the upcoming school year. If your child is first identified between June 1st and the upcoming school year, and you submitted your request for services within 30 days after your child is first identified, services would be for the upcoming school year. If your child is first identified before April 1st of the current school year, you submitted your request for services within 30 days after your child is first identified, services are for the current school year. Requesting special education services every year. Every year, you must inform the CSE in writing that you are enrolling your child in a private school at your own expense and request services pursuant to an IESP. This letter must be received by the CSE by June 1st for services for the upcoming school year. If you receive the letter from New York City Public Schools by mail or email, you may sign and return this letter to your local CSE or reply to the email by June 1st. Again, this process is also known as the notice of intent. Annual review and reevaluation. Does my child need a new IESP every year? Annual reviews. Your child's progress will be reviewed at an IESP meeting that should be held annually. Parents are invited and are vital members of the IESP team. Your child's private school and special education related service providers need to provide progress reports and are the important members of the IESP team. Representatives of your child's private school are also invited. Re-evaluations. A re-evaluation must be conducted at least every 3 years unless the parent and the CSE agree it is not necessary. Requests for re-evaluations may be made upon the request of the student's teacher or parent, if the CSE determines that the student's educational or related services needs warrant a re-evaluation. Re-evaluations may not occur more than once a year unless the CSE and parent agree otherwise. Re-evaluation. The IEP team reviews existing material, teacher service provider reports, classroom assessments, standardized testing, previous evaluations, etc., to determine what, if any, new assessments are needed. Parent is notified if new assessments are needed or not needed. Parent can request that specific assessments be conducted. For more information, visit our website. You can use the QR code here, or you can go to www.schools.nyc.gov/CSE. And we have come to the conclusion of our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our lovely presenter. We hope that you are leaving what we like to call warm and informed so that you know, one, what are your next actionable steps, and two, where you can direct any future questions or concerns. At the conclusion of this webinar series, if you have any questions or concerns, you can also email them to special education, that's special education at schools with an S, .nyc.gov. That general inbox is manned by our central office staff, and you will receive our communication response from our central office between 24 to 36 hours of receipt of your email. We do ask that you are mindful of holidays and weekends because that will increase the response time that you'll receive from the central office. But always, please direct any special education questions or concerns to our general inbox, which is special education at schools.nyc.gov. Please look for future Beyond Access Series sessions on our YouTube channel, and you can also register for future Beyond Access Series sessions on our schools.nyc.gov homepage. We hope that you enjoyed your session this evening and the information was impactful. And we want you to leave warm. So please remember the important dates, June 1st. That is a timely date in which you need to submit your paperwork to the DOE. And you can participate and fill out the QR code to get additional information. Again, thank you for joining us this evening. Have a great night.